I have a different kind of themed book review coming tonight. It's getting colder, winter is here, holiday season is coming, and this time of year I love things that make me cozy. And so I have 6 books that I have been reading and loving, and they're just making me feel cozy. And these are not about winter, they are not about snow, they are not about one of the holidays. They're just books that make you feel warm inside, and I think this is the perfect time of year to read them. These authors are like classically warm, gushy feeling authors and illustrators, I think. And so I want to show them to you and introduce you to some, because if you don't know these creators, you have to. This book, this woman, The Little House, written by Virginia Lee Burton. She has the sweetest little book. She has a book called Katie and the Big Snow, which I love, and I have reviewed many times on this Facebook page and many times on, or at least once on the Lower Manhattan Macaroni Kids website. I love that book. She also wrote Mike Mulligan's Steam Shovel, if you're familiar with that book. This sweet little story is about a house, and it's basically about the life of this house. This house lives in a field. This house has a farm. This house stands the test of time. But you know what happens? A city gets built up around this house, and then this house is left all alone and standing. Virginia Lee Burton knows how to just tell a story. And she just has these illustrations that just make you feel like a part of them. These are the kind of things that I want to like frame and hang in my kid's room. It's kind of like a nice warm reminder. I just love these. Now it was not so quiet and peaceful at night. Now the lights of the city were bright and very close, and the street lights shone all night. This must be living in the city, thought the little house, and didn't know whether she liked it or not. She missed the field of daisies and the apple trees dancing in the moonlight. The other thing I want to mention about this book is that the main character, the house, is female. In the book Katie and the Big Snow, it's also a female snow shovel, in that case, snowplow. And I love that. You just don't find kind of strong female non-person characters as often. Object has been assigned the gender of female. Anyways, I kind of like that. It was sweet. It added to the story. I think it added to the feeling that the story has. I'm a fan of Virginia Lee Burton, and I'm a fan of The Little House. This is a really cute one. This one is by Cynthia Rylant. She's another author who has got a large collection of books that are just cool. I don't know how else to describe it. This one's When I Was Young in the Mountains, and it's all about a little girl growing up in pioneer times, and she lives with her grandparents, and they go to the store, and it's basically all about just their life back in the pioneer times, which is exactly the time period I love to kind of dig into when it comes to winter. When I was young in the mountains, we went to church in the schoolhouse on Sundays, and sometimes walked with the congregation through the cow pasture to the dark swimming hole for baptisms. Really beautiful illustrations that lean kind of brown and tan base, which always just feels cozy and warm to me. I just love this book. This is a really great one, especially if you have a kid who's very interested in learning more about historic fiction or certain time periods. This is a really great one. I think everyone knows Tomie dePaola. Go with me on this one. This is the Quilt Story. This is a really great story about a little girl who has a quilt made for her. She's also in the pioneer times, and this quilt is such a staple in their house. It keeps her warm every night. She cuddles up with it. She just loves it. Her dad builds their cabin for them. Her mother makes her this quilt. Eventually, she kind of loses the quilt, and it makes its way all the way to modern times, where another little girl finds it, and it becomes an important part of her life too. These books are great. Everyone's familiar with him, I'm sure. He has the sweetest illustrations. And it's just a great little story. And I mean, quilt, that's like essential, quintessential cozy is quilts. Owl Moon, this is a different one. This was recommended in a school book list, I think, and we read it and I really liked it. This one is gonna have some hand-drawn illustrations, which is really great. It's about a little girl and her dad who go owl hunting, which I don't really know much about, but I really love this. They go out at night, they go out together, and you gotta be really quiet when you're owl hunting. So it's kind of written in almost a poetic prose, and I really love that. Again, he called out, and then again. After each call, he was silent, and for a moment, we both listened. is just a great book. This is definitely like a nighttime cuddle in bed kind of book. The Big Sea is totally new to me, and this book I read it one time and then like immediately was like, how long before I can get my kid to the sea with me? This is about a little girl whose mother wakes her up and says, come on, come with me, we're going on a special trip at nighttime to the ocean to see what the ocean is like at night. And it is just, I want to be here. I want to be right there. I want to be right there. These are the kind of illustrations that just feel so realistic and so vivid. The story is so sweet, and I just love it. I loved reading this and saying, I want to be that. I want to be that family. I want to do those things. This is a great book, and the language isn't very complex. The story itself isn't much. I splashed and I laughed, and Mama came after me, and we paddled out deep in the water. We got all wet. It's kind of simple, but those illustrations just say everything you need to. I really like this book. I really, really, really like this book. Like, yeah, I really love this book. I just got it in like a lot of used books, and so I never even heard of it. I didn't go searching for it. It just found its way into my life, and I'm so much better for it. Last book I want to show is The Ox Cart Man. This is pictures by Barbara Cooney, and she is so known, I think, for making these illustrations that kind of are like old America, very Americana, and I think often about pioneer times again, which clearly there's a theme here. I guess if I want to be cozy, I want to pretend I'm living in a log cabin in a field somewhere with no technology. This is a great story of a man who has a farm, and it's basically a year in the life of him and his ox cart. He fills it, sells products from it. In October, he backed his ox into his cart, and he and his family filled it up with everything they made or grew all year long that was left over. He takes the ox cart with him to the market. He sells the sheep wool that they have sheared. He sells the food that they have grown, and he travels all around selling the things that the family has spent all year creating and growing and baking and making. And it's kind of just got these really great, same thing, just the illustrations are just sweet and kind of cozy, and it's kind of a nice story about a year in the life of somebody from a long time ago leading into that historic fiction. Here you can see the little ox cart man. He sells his ox and he sells his cart, spoiler alert, and I just really love it. I mean, that fire looks so much cozier than this fire, and that's a pretty cozy fire. This is great. Barbara Cooney, she's got some other great books that I love. Miss Rumphius, which is not how you say the name of that book, but that's what I'm going to call it anyways. Roxaboxen, which I have reviewed a few times. She's got quite a Rolodex of some really great books. So we've got Ox Cart Man, The Big Sea, Owl Moon, The Quilt Story, When I Was Young in the Mountains, and The Little House. 6 books that just make me want to snuggle up on a couch and read them together, be together by the fire, find a cabin in the woods somewhere. These are just great books, and I think that you could enjoy them too. What am I missing? What are some other cozy books that fall into the same vein? What are some books that you read that just make you feel so warm inside? I have a thing for this particular type of book, and I would love to add more to my collection.